Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Mid-South Wrestling Review Series for November 26th, 1983. And I actually had recorded this yesterday. It got lost in translation somewhere, so we're going to do a reboot here. Also, going to finish off the rest of the year of 1983. Got about 4 episodes left that need to be recorded, something like that. And hopefully, everybody's enjoying their holiday. This is being recorded on Christmas. If you are a celebrator, Merry Christmas to you. If you are not a celebrator, Happy Holidays. And if you celebrate nothing, I hope you have a good day anyway. Regardless, this is an interesting run. Crusher Darshow scouts JYD and Nikolai Volkov. Basically, they show footage and he does voiceovers. He's siding with Volkov to be the tougher guy to win going into the North American Championship match, which at the time seems weird, but it plays out over the next couple of weeks as we see. We then see a match with Nikolai Volkov and Josh Stroud. Stroud looks like he's got a really good body on him. Volkov uncomfortably wearing a rope noose around his neck, which is just uncomfortable. Volkov does stand for his Russian national anthem in time there, and needless to say, Volkov is a guy who really looks to be in pretty decent shape and shots. And then we see several shots across the back of the nature of Stroud, and then we see a double-handed pickup there. Backbreaker across the spine really quickly, hanging backbreaker, and this leads to actually Volkov using the buckles to get an extra added leverage advantage. Then he kicks the man while he's in the corner, and then several more strikes. Volkov certainly very, very vicious. Magnum TA wanders out and looks at what Volkov is doing. We see a kick right under the chin. Then we see the press slam, military press style backbreaker, and a victory for Nikolai Volkov. Jim Neidhart and Tony Torres. Neidhart still one half of your tag team champion. No, actually not. I think they've already lost the belts at this point. Tony Torres is here. Obviously, Neidhart has been a power guy and going around quite a bit here. And Torres tries a leapfrog, doesn't get all he wants on it. Big shot by Neidhart. Neidhart manages to hit an elbow across the neck, and then we see a clothesline by Neidhart. Neidhart really dominant, quite dominant actually, across his opponent, and literally beels him like he's a lawn dart across the ring there. Neidhart then manages to go for a big body slam, slams right in the middle of the ring, and Neidhart managing to do everything he can do to overpower his adversary. Torres comes out and gets nailed with a clothesline in the process, and a successful win for Neidhart. And then we move to Tonga against the Junkyard Dog. Not necessarily sure why you'd put Tonga in there with the dog. I understand the eventuality of a rookie, but still, why feed him to the dog so early? I don't quite understand that unless the realization he was going to be more for the area had not hit anybody yet. Anyway, Tonga sends the dog off. Dog hits a hip toss and goes for a quick cover. Doesn't get what he wants on the cover, but manages to still be coming up with an armbar, and dog kind of hangs out pretty well down, and I wouldn't say down and out, but certainly hangs out there. Irish whip by the by Tonga. Tonga hits a back fist and then continues to go in a positive direction. Roll through by the dog. Dog gets a near fall, doesn't get all he wants. Tonga comes back to his feet. He's pretty aggressive, pretty assertive, getting the job done to the best of his ability, and ultimately Irish whip there. Hard kick to the midsection by Tonga, and he manages to hit some headbutts and does manage the headbutt right pretty hard. Rocks himself with it in the headbutt. Tonga goes to the second rope on the outside. actually tries to get on the top rope and manages to lose some balance here. He doesn't get anything he wants. Tries to jump at the dog, and dog throws an offensive maneuver his way. Doesn't even need to land because Tonga falls off. Big thump slam by the dog, and a win there by the dog as well. Midnight Express against Mike Jackson and Rick Rude. Yes, that Rick Rude, as in Ravishing Rick Rude. I believe 1982 is his rookie year. Of course, Loverboy Dennis and Beautiful Bobby are your first incarnation or of this version of the Midnight Express. However, they are not the first team to use the name. Still weird to me to see Jim Ross as a ring announcer. Just strikes me as odd. Anyway, Rude gets out wrestled by Dennis Condrey. Condrey, not my cup of tea when it comes to the Midnight Express. I am certainly a supporter of Eaton and Lane, but that's just me. Anyway, drop kicks under the chin by Jackson, and Jackson hits a crossbody on Bobby Eaton. Eaton and Condrey have not found their feud yet, but a cutoff with a shot to the midsection, and then we see the open up pretty aggressively. Irish whip and a big clothesline by Condrey, and then Eaton comes back in. Eaton, certainly not the terribly charismatic fellow, but he doesn't need to be with the benefit of Jim Cornette with him, and Condrey charismatic. Lane ends up being charismatic, so. But then we see the double team, the hanging kind of fist drop, forearm drop, and then we see Dr. Death Steve Williams versus Frank Levert. Dr. Death Steve Williams has not made a full commitment to pro wrestling yet, as we will see as he goes into 1984 that he in fact does. But Williams, gets some ride time on a guy, go behinds, takedowns and the like, and really, ultimately, gets as much of an aggressive output as he can. The takedowns continue to grind. Williams goes to the mat and stays there for a while, and eventually hits some shots with the man tied up in the ropes, hits a 3-point stance and a kind of a chop block type maneuver. And then we see the Oklahoma Stampede and Williams with a victory. Mr. Wrestling 2 introduces a new tag team. The team, of course, Lanny Poffo and his man Magnum TA, but he insults Poffo, basically saying his father is a grifter and that people should not want to be anywhere near the Poffos. I don't quite understand this. It's one of the few angles that really didn't make any sense at the time, and just an FYI peek ahead, couple of weeks, this team has already been disbanded. Doug Vines and King Carl Fergie. It doesn't make sense to me that King Carl Fergie is mentioned here because Lawler's coming through, the original King. I know that Fergie and Lawler are related, so a mock King doesn't make sense to me. Magnum TA, pretty assertive here, but we see kind of more wrestling by Poffo. Poffo tries to grab an arm and then tag off to TA. I actually like the team of Poffo and TA, although they don't go very far. They're probably done in like less than a month from each other. But anyway, roll up attempted by TA. Doesn't get what he wants. Dropkick under the chin. Still, again, coached by Mr. Wrestling 2, although we don't see as much of him as normal here in this particular foray through things, and ultimately an Irish whip and big almost takedown roll through into a half crab and then roll over by good old Lanny Poffo. Poffo holds on to the arm for a bit. Vines comes back in. Poffo gets a shoulder tackle. Mr. Wrestling 2 is watching from ringside. Rather stoically, actually, so it's kind of hard to tell what he's doing. One of the enhancement talents does manage a big body slam on Lanny Poffo. Poffo does look kind of, it actually is Fergie that hits that body slam. Poffo does look kind of weak and makes a weak hot tag. I know that sounds weird, bad combination, but goes for what should be a hot tag, and it gets over like a popcorn fart. Drop kick by Magnum TA, and ultimately we see Irish whips and a series of them. Hard shots, and ultimately we see a tag off by Lanny Poffo. Tag to Magnum TA, who hits the belly to belly suplex, and they are finished with that match in quick order. Ted DiBiase sends a message to Jim Duggan. The message is really basically quite simple. He says that Duggan's gotten him banned and run out of Mid-South and run out of professional wrestling. DiBiase vows to get his revenge. He actually had to go all the way to Japan, he claims, in order to be able to ply his craft after the underhandedness of Jim Duggan. And speaking of Duggan, he's up next in a match with Larry Higgins. Super basic match, not going to be anything major, doesn't need to be anything major. High back elbow by Duggan, and we kind of see him continue with the brawl. Duggan does actually get some ride time on a takedown, which is a bit of a surprise for most people. Duggan nails Higgins with a series of shots. Duggan doesn't take any backward steps. Instead, focuses on forearms and other strikes. Big body slam by Duggan. Duggan is satisfied with all of that. Higgins manages to go for the, I guess you'd say, reverse chinlock and the like. Ultimately, a short shot by Higgins, and things continue to go in that direction. Hard shot there, and ultimately, Duggan manages to grab a big clothesline out of the whole deal and stomping on his man. Big back body drop along the way, and Duggan down into the 3-point stance, hitting the kind of football tackle type maneuver. Boom. Out we go, and Duggan is successful in that regard, gets a victory. Then we go to Tom Lynch discussing Hacksaw Duggan. And basically, Lynch is a relative newcomer, says he's going to take on Duggan next week, and looks to be in good shape and looks to be pretty powerful. Of course, that audio is already available in our archives, as are over 900 other audios, both of modern wrestling for today in 2020 and a full series of world-class, almost 2 years of the Mid-South area, and so much more. We'll be back with more right after this.